Welcome, Kim. We were just raving about how, we got connected and, public before perfect, putting it out there, what I wanted to do. And then sure enough, you materialized into my life. And then you realized you wanted to do something and I materialized right back.
It's been an amazing kind of cross-pollination of dreams, all done in a team mentality, really. And that's what we were talking about before this, is that people think writing a book is this solitary, run up to a cabin and drink lots of whiskey and cry a lot. I mean, there are tears, there might be whiskey, there might be a cabin,
Right.
but you need a team, you need someone like a coach, and it's just like buying a house. I needed a team. I needed you guys, for those moments of just like, I don't know, like, do I pivot? What do I do?
Yeah, having a guy by your side makes a different impact for sure. And to have a trusted advisor to bounce board things, because if not, then you're like second guessing everything. And then that's stressful.
Yes, it is. It is. We can have the answers. Life is too short. Why should we be confused? There's really no reason.
It's so interesting, Kim. It sounds like, from what I can gather, this experience of writing a book is exactly that, what you just said. It's like peeling away these layers of our self-defense mechanisms and being able to see ourselves and our truths and literally bringing them to light and acknowledging them and then crafting them in a way that expresses what the experiences have been, and it explains a lot of where you are today. I mean, it's an amazing, almost metaphysical experience. Certainly therapeutic, I would imagine. How did you get in that business? I mean, were you trained in as a writer, a journalist, or as a therapist? Or I'm curious.
That's a really good question. I was a movie producer for 20 years, a movie producer and screenwriter. And so that really covered a lot of the storytelling, the story structure, the entertainment value. And then I had my own personal life crises and saw the catharsis that I was able to realize through writing my own book. And I'd always been involved in books. There was a little movie called Brokeback Mountain that won a few Oscars, right? And I was faxing them the day that the rights were bought, right? So I was always a little more like believing that I could have things that were probably a little bit out of my reach from a very young age, but that's okay. That's what got me to where I am today. And so I've always been a believer of those deeper, more searing stories. So, Brokeback Mountain is not a light romp. It's not like a light romantic comedy, so that's why I got into the memoir. And then what I found the other piece was movies weren't enough for me. It wasn't just enough to entertain you. I wanted people to learn something. I was like, we have access to all these incredible people like Jay, who've gone through all these unsurmountable challenges. They can teach other people how to do it so they don't maybe have to suffer as long. I suffered for a very long time because I didn't have a solution. And then when I found a solution in the last couple of years, my whole life is radically changed. And I'm 50 young, as I like to say. So I've got lots of time to get a lot done. And a lot of my authors are in that age range, they're like 40 to 60, and they're seeing now's the time to share. I'm not too old. I'm not too young. Now's the time to really, really get out there and share. And that's not to say I don't have like 30-something-year-old clients. There are a lot of wise, sage 30-year-olds, but it's just that sweet spot.
It makes sense. It makes sense that you would cause to pause in that age bracket, if you will, a little bit more in that reflected, and you still have the energy, if you will, to be able to extrapolate the information and the memories that are clear and vibrant to be able to connect with.
That's
and
right.
I could see that having a very much, I know that this is, especially in the period of COVID-19, there is a lot of introspection into the meaning of life, on how am I suffering, what is happening in the world, and all this, desensitization and overwhelm, to be able to center and bring out certain memories and experiences that were crucible, things that you've experienced in your past that you maybe even forgot about how crazy and hard that was, or how scary that moment was. And yet here you are today, and you are in a different form. And I think telling that story is beautiful. I'm super curious, like, in this environment, how are you able to continue going forward? I mean, what do you do with people? Is it all internet connected, or How has business changed for you during this COVID period?
You know, it's been kind of riding the wave. I've been spending this time getting some things done for me personally, because I believe that, as someone, actually one of my clients who's a brilliant astrologer, said this the other day about there's this, sliver of light that some of us are going to just keep going on through, and we're going to stay out of the drama, and we're going to stay out of the negativity, and we're just going to right through. And when we get right through on the other side, it's going to be like, boom, right? I'm staying in that sort of galaxy. And I have been, pivoting my mission. So I've gotten really clear. I serve authors who are committed to being bestsellers. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be on the New York Times bestseller list, although that would be good, or the Wall Street, but you are committed to that mentality. You will do whatever it takes to make your book the best book ever. You're not going to just write a book and be like, and then kind of whine your way through it. You're committed, right? So I've gotten very grounded in who my client is, because I bring a lot of energy to the table. Jay knows this. Like, I'm on you. I'm on you. I'm like, wait, you did that? Wait, why aren't you capitalizing on that? If I had my way, Jay would already be the governor of California, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. So I have clients on the stage of Madison Square Garden, in my mind, right? Do they want to go on that ride? That depends, right? So during this COVID-19, I am seeing better who I serve, and I'm starting to see those people appear. And it almost doesn't matter that we're in coronavirus, because it's like, I'm taking the time to put out who I want to attract.
And what was great was, even before the quarantine, though, Kim Business we did our coaching via Zoom every week. We spent an hour on Zoom together. And so it was never an in-person thing. And Kim, you have clients all over North America. It's not just here in LA. So you get introduced to authors, who want to write their story wherever they are. And some of them you've never even physically met, because your entire business was done this way already. So I think that shift for you was totally fine. And then what I love, and if you don't mind me telling, is your podcast is so awesome. It's one of the best things that I loved about what's happened to you during this quarantine, is that your podcast show is fantastic.
Thank you. Well, the podcast story is interesting. And Sean, just to finish your question, when private clients come to me and they do a 5-hour outline, that's how we start. We sit for 5 hours on Zoom.
Wow.
And at first they think, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do this. And maybe now it's harder because they're on Zoom more, but at the end they inevitably go, it's over, we're done. That's it. It's been 5 hours. I'm like, bring snacks, bring water. We're not stopping until we're done.
Hydrate. Might want to wear a diaper or something. Right?
Have nuts. Yes, you can pee quickly.
Well,
it's true. Kim is such a great extractor of tidbits of information that you might not think is relevant, but then you'll say something, because that's the thing about shared energy. And then next thing you know, she's like, oh, wait, tell me more about that. And she'll pull on it and pull on it and pull on it. And then you discuss it. She gets down and then she jogs in her mind, kind of like how you strategize, Sean. You take it in, it kind of noodles in your head. And then next thing you know, like some brilliancy comes out. It's like, how did you do that? It all kind of like had a road in your mind, and then it comes out. And that was what was so amazing about Kim, is I knew my story, but then she made me realize my story. And so it was just kind of fascinating, that process, because I didn't realize that was possible. But then to jog the memory and have somebody just kind of like, all right, tell me more about that. What happened there? What about before? And through someone else's eyes to see what was happening. And that it's clear in my mind, but wait a second, how do you express that? And so I think that process was really cool.
So you came to me. Oh, well, let me just finish this one thought, Sean, really quick. Jay, you came to me with a desire, though, to write. I did not have to convince you. I'm not in the convincing. I'm a persuader for sure, but I'm not a convincer, right? So what made you already know? What was the thing?
The thing that made me want to write? because I wanted to have an impact greater beyond just my sphere and the people that knew me. I wanted to impact millions of other young minority women to see that everything is possible. Just don't be, contained in what you grew up and was told you're supposed to be. You can do and have anything and everything, really.
Right.
So that was inside. I had to get out.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, I mean, first of all, do you specialize in the biography or autobiography, or is it all genres? Did you help anyone write any kind of prose or something, Kim?
I tend to get clients in the memoir self-help genre. It's like the I change, you change book. So see how I changed and then you change. I do have how-to clients. I have, a wonderful client right now. Her name is Amy Powers, and she's writing a fantastic book on comparing, talking about network marketing in a different way that's going to kind of blow the lid on it for people. And so that's a little bit of a how-to. There's a tiny bit of memoir in there, but she's so knowledgeable and she's so entertaining as a writer. I have one client who's going through now, who did fiction, and she wrote an amazing fictional royal romp, and there's like a twist on the royal family that we kind of we noodled on, and it's just so much fun. It's so much fun. So I'm willing to bring that in. Like, if anybody comes to me, I'm not going to say no to fiction, because that was my wheelhouse for decades.
But you also have an estate planning attorney, right? And you're helping her write out what that process is.
Yeah. So people do come to me, like estate planners, lawyers, and I show them how to bring that unique angle of who they are into what they do as sort of like a door opener for people. And so, yeah, there's different variations of what I'm willing. But again, it's what I said in the beginning. It's refining. All the people I mention are 100% in. They're 100% in.
This is a very intimate process that you're involved with, right? You really get to know the people as they are. And I wonder, and I would imagine that you often kind of unravel some of what I refer to as revisionist history, like how we tend to want to quantify or compartmentalize our life experiences and make it more palatable going forward. Like, that's not it. And you're like, no, we have to unlock Pandora's box, because there's a lot of energy sitting in there that transforms into something that's very connective and significant. I would imagine you're exhausted after a day, because you're really engaging people at such a high level. And yet you found time to pursue something that was really important to you with Jay.
Buying my house.
Yes.
I mean, that the house is the heart. We say this, the house is the heart. And where I was living, I had outgrown. I had outgrown in my power as a woman. I had outgrown as my relationship with what I want to be to my daughters. But I'm a highly conservative New Englander at the heart. And so until I know the dollars are exactly where I want them, I will not move, right? And the dollars went to the exact number they were at. When they went to the exact number they were at, there was no question in my mind. How could I not hire Jay when I just helped her write a book for 6 months about what a brilliant real estate agent she is, giving community constantly above and beyond her clients? I'm like, I almost feel like she came to me to write a book so I could buy a house. You know what I'm saying?
I would subscribe to that, by the way. Jay will tell you that I very much believe in that transference of energy. Like, you're in a person's life for a reason, a season, or forever. And there are really significant moments in our lives where we're able to focus in and really help and reciprocate. And it's super interesting that you would come at this time, because it had to have been a little intimidating as you're in the journey. Like, with the COVID, did it impact you at all in your process? Or you were just like, look, I'm a numbers person, like you said, I'm conservative. So if this thing lines up, I'm all in. Maybe that's part of it. I'm curious as to how you felt about that part of the process when you were out there hunting, because you were hunting in the middle of COVID season.
Yeah, we were. And, I'm a very fastidious person, so I kept making maps and moving the zip codes.
moving target.
So I was like, we're not going beyond Vermont, right? So like at a certain point, I just kind of had really honed in and never once was Jay like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. She was like, let's go, let's show up, let's see. And there's something about the magic of the unflappable collaboration. And in COVID, you know, I just was tested 2 days ago because I felt like there have been a lot of workers in and out of the house, deliveries and everything. Everyone was very on the level. Everyone wore masks, but there's still a lot of people touching your doorknobs and using your bathroom or whatever. And I got tested and now I feel complete. I feel like we did it, like we scored, you know? But I also do feel like one thing I want to point out that's amazing about having relationships with people where you're willing to be intimate. Before I bought this house I'm in now, I almost made a misstep in a different scenario of purchase with maybe another person. And I woke up in the morning, knew it was all wrong. And I was able to call Jay. And for like an hour, we had like a relationship discussion, and it was intense. And by the end of it, I was like, yep, this is what I'm going to do. And I moved on that afternoon. I don't really know if you could do that with like a lot of real estate agents. I really don't.
Well,
it was a hard call. I was like, I'm really embarrassed to tell you everything we've done up to now doesn't matter because we're going to change.
You know, Kim, I think you bring up something so critical, and it speaks to the whole experience, and really it speaks a lot to Jay and the philosophy of how we operate and who we are as people. But here you are intuitively tuning in on something that's uncomfortable. Like, okay, wait a minute, I'm kind of heading one direction. And it sounds warm and fuzzy and good, but it's not right. And I know in my heart it's not right. And yet I have to be vulnerable. I have to expose this and just come to the light. And I need an advocate. I need somebody who's able to sit from 10,000 feet and then come down into the immediate space with me and give me that professional advice and listen to what I have to say. And then ask those thought-provoking questions. Jay's very good at asking those important questions. You came in for an interview. I remember actually the genesis. And you and this other person were here when you were beginning it, and it looked like it was in one direction, and then all of a sudden things changed, and I knew that there was a clarification that you had just gone through, a crystallization of what was important to you and the importance of the decision and the control that you were able to have, right? Mm-hmm. I respect that process and really appreciate that. What you did is you gave Jay permission to be that much stronger an advocate for you. You trusted her in a place where you needed somebody to soldier up, to hold your hand and say, I got you. Let me walk you through this. And that's where Jay tends to shine. She'll tell you in a past life, and perhaps this is in her book, I don't want to give up anything, but she's very much been a warrior spirit. She's a very strong-willed, determined person.
There's no doubt. Well, she had mentioned the podcast earlier, and I just want to give a nod out to a woman I just recorded yesterday. Her name is Alison Andrews, and she founded San Diego Fashion Week. And we talked just yesterday about how she just one day just knew it was time to get divorced. Nothing looked right. It wasn't on paper a very good time at all. I mean, you have to hear the podcast to understand, but giving that power to us to be able to change when we feel it's right and be able to talk to another woman, or it could be another man, or it could be someone that's in your circle and say, I'm going to make a change. And I need to know that I'm doing this, and can it be okay? Like, are we going to be okay? And to have someone there to say to you, yeah, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine, because we already kind of know we're going to be fine because we have the courage to make the change, but we do need a little bit of that reassurance. And that's why you guys have each other. So jealous. I need a partner. You guys are amazing together in what you do.
Thank you. You know, the courage is truly that word. It takes courage to trust another person. It takes courage to have a long-lasting work partnership. It takes courage to just give all in to, he's my work husband, I have my home husband, and I'm very, very fortunate to get to be completely vulnerable and 100% just be able to be myself and know that no matter what, unconditionally, I'm accepted and loved by Sean, by Larry, And on both sides of it, it's such a support system and a depth, because I was alone for such a long part of my life that now in my adulthood, to have and be surrounded by such depth of relationships, it's unfathomable to me. But I think that goes to show with, how I was able to shift and receive on the inside, because I didn't know when I was this tough fighter chick, like growing up, I'm gonna survive. I'm gonna fend for myself. I got this. And then realizing that it is better together. It's better with others. I don't have to be so tough and rough, and I can be vulnerable, and I can be a real person. And I don't have to be such a workaholic, insane, just carrying the load on my shoulders person. It's kind of like, and Sean knows I still have a hard time asking for help.
Yes.
But
that's very true. That is very true.
I do have a hard time asking for help, but
I do know when you ask, it's actually because, okay, you really do. You're like, okay, I need a little perspective. I love to comment on this too, because I think I've heard some things that are so critical for other people to really hear. And that is that initially there's an intuitive part of this process, right? And I try to share this with my children and other people, whoever may come for some form of fellowship and communication or counseling. And in that communication, it's often like that feeling that you connect to, right? It's almost like your mind can fool you, but your heart really guides you. And if you really feel something, it's kind of giving you those warning signals. And it's almost like we kind of need to, as a society, as a civilization, as humanity, allow our heart to lead us into these situations where, when you would otherwise be probably pretty aggressive and defensive or, what have you, you can look at it and go, okay, wait a minute, there's a lot of ingredients here. But that permission actually starts with yourself. That permission is like, okay, I can be vulnerable and I'm going to trust somebody. And then it's weird because it just seems like the universe brought you two together for this particular experience. And by the way, that's a full circle. Like, this experience for Jay is extraordinarily cathartic. It is a reckoning of her past. It's an acknowledgement of herself. It's very hard for us to acknowledge what we've actually accomplished in our lives. Sometimes it's even hard to hear. There's kind of like that, a little bit of embarrassment. It's a little squeamish, but it's not. It's actually brilliant light that helps others see by it, right? So when you show this experience in your life, you're able to expand in a way that other people are like, ooh, that's possible. And I hear that in this conversation from the two of you, and I'm excited for that. And I think the idea of trust and pushing yourself out there with people, and but also listening to that intuition, so that when you hand the trust over, it is somebody you've intuitively connected with. You're like, okay, this feels right as well. I think the book writing process and this experience, whole circle, and then a home where the heart is a beautiful story on its own. And I really just appreciate you taking the time to share it with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Kim, I mean, it's really just, and I got so emotional. Every week it seems like something's going to just cheer me up. I guess it's just the way it is. Like,
cry every week.
Well, Jay, can I ask Kim? I want to hear about where do we find your podcast? I'd like to hear that. I'd like to be able to tune in and hear some of the things you have to say and people you're talking to.
Sure. So You Should Write a Book About That is currently a Stitcher top indie pod pick. It's on the homepage of the app. It's also a Castbox staff pick favorite right now. I only had to pay people like couple $100 to get those positions. I'm just kidding.
Right.
iTunes has given me nothing, so shame on iTunes, but it's on iTunes. We've done 18 episodes. They're short 17-minute just conversations, like Jay was saying in the beginning, about people's stories. And I always kind of say, you should write a book about that. And some people will, and some people won't. And sometimes I have clients on that are, and we talk about getting deep in writing on it. So thank you for asking about that. People should tune in and subscribe for sure.
You should write a book about that.
You should write a book about that.
But I thought even her company name, A Story Inside, it's true. And I think even Michelle Obama said it, everybody has a story inside, and those stories need to be told. And when I saw your company, I was like, that's brilliant. She's amazing, truly. And being a mom to two fierce young girls who have your back for sure. I mean, your daughters, and getting to know them through this process, they just are witty and sharp and self-sufficient, and like kudos to you for raising such, you know, strong girls who, you know, really have a voice for themselves in this world. I think that's amazing.
And it was fun to bring them on the house hunting process. And you were really tickled by my teenager who would, you know, who looked at the driveway and was like, so this is going to get like, did she even use the word power wash? She's like, we're going to be cleaning this, right? And I'm like,
which we did.
Which you even did. Like, she got you to work. That's amazing. At 14 years old, she's like, do we have somebody for this? And I'm like,
I got it.
And I'm like, okay, that's good, you know, because like you need to kind of say to people who here is capable, who can do this for me, you know, who can put this together. The other thing I just wanted to say about entertainment and books right now, for anybody that's kind of hedging on whether they should or shouldn't write a book right now in coronavirus, you know, I've got the time, but maybe I'm furloughed, or I don't know if I have the money, or I'm not sure. If you haven't noticed on Netflix, there are like part 3s of movies I didn't even know there were part 3s of. Okay. So they're rolling out crap right now because they have no inventory. So they're not making TV shows. They're not making movies. They're starting to get back into it a little bit, like slowly, you know, with the masks and everything. But books are skyrocketing because people are reading again. They're reading tons and tons of books. And here's the thing. When they come out of this, when we ever come out of this, we're never going to really come out of this. We're going to be forever changed for a very long time. Even if we try to not be changed, we're going to be changed. And they're going to look to the leaders that are my clients that are writing books that say, hey, guess what? There's a system that I have that's going to help you deal with this. Hey, you know what? You don't need to go back to being a binge eater. Here's ways that you can change. Hey, you can go after that career you've always wanted. And I'm going to tell you some funny stories along the way and entertain you. You know, people don't just become famous. They write books and they work hard and they have a message and they put it out there and they market themselves. It's not some big mystery. You know, people think, oh, it's such a mystery. It's not. You just got to write the book.
Right. And tell your story and work hard, because it's not easy. It really is hard, but it's worth it. It really is. And I think that the why has to be deep enough. Like my why is pretty intense and what I want it to be heard in the world. And also, I've been misunderstood so much in my life. I wanted people to understand why I have this passion and drive to really want to help people. Like that's what's the unifying force between Sean and I, is the fact that at our core, you know, yeah, real estate is the job that is the surface, but at our core, we want to impact and help people with the knowledge and the life skills and experience that we have. And with our skill sets, impact and help others fulfill their dreams. Right. And that's what makes what we do so amazing, is the fact that the pass-through is the real estate, yes, helping the product, right? But the journey of it is the passage of how we do that, and the length of deep dive care that we have to want to make your dreams come true. That is viscerally like at the base of who we are, and that's where our deep connection is. We strategize on every little thing. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? How do you think we could bypass this little thing to get there? Because that's what we want to do. Who do you know in your sphere? Because Sean's third generation, Angelino, you know, we got this little pocket opportunity in the Pacific Palisades. Like, who do we know that can buy this house? Or here's one over Mount Olympus, you know, that I need to go to in a little bit. And it's just kind of like, who do we know, and how can we take all the little pieces of the sum of the parts that we have to create that whole and make that outcome like awesome, you know, and just so fully committed to that. And I think that's something that's uniquely different in a very transactional kind of cavalier world, where it's like, oh, it's, you know, about, you know, looking hot or whatever else that people do to be glitzy and glammy and commercialize this business. But there's so much depth of heart and care that is involved in really, really wanting amazing things to happen for the people that we just get all in with, and that's different, you know.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, you know, when I pulled into my house this morning, I had an early morning appointment, and I came into my front yard where there's an avocado tree and an apple tree and a lime tree. And I saw two, you know, hummingbirds flirting and playing with each other up in the trees. And then a breeze flew through. And I was like, I have a compound. Like, I was like, how did this happen? I call this my magic house. You know, if I write a book, it's going to be my magic house. And I tell my neighbors next door, I go, I said, you know, I think they might think there's something a little off about me, like that I might take something. So I'm always like, isn't this great? And they're like, yeah, it's cool. Like, I don't know if that's going to die down in a little bit, but I hope not, because it is beautiful to have your own little piece of land. And I told this to Jay. She knows I can get super woo-woo. When I walked into this house for the first time and I walked down the hallway, I cried. And I called her and I go, oh my God, I have a hallway, right? And she's like, okay, yeah, there's a hallway. And I said, no, you don't understand. I felt all the ancestors of this land and of my life walking down the hallway with me. This is the house. This is the house. And it was.
Oh, I got goosebumps when you said that.
It's like, I mean, you know, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. You can make any ride you go on as deep and as visceral as you want it to be, or you can make it as superficial and angst-ridden and stressed out as you want it to be. You have a choice in this world. No one is putting that choice on you. You can make that choice. And I've come from hard times, and I'm a survivor, and Jay's a survivor. So we can speak to this.
Yeah. Amen, sister. I love it. Well, Kim, thanks so much for joining us this morning. You're so incredible. I love you so deeply. And through this process, I fell in love with you even deeper. And this is a friendship for life. So I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on your show. I'm so
awesome.
You guys are doing this. You guys are like the dream team on Facebook Live. I love it. Amazing.
We have a lot of fun with it. We love to share the stories. We love making new friends, and we love to share the light of our friends with all the other people that are in our spheres of influence. So thank you, Kim, for sharing so much with us today.
Now, if I hit the leave button, I'm not shutting the whole operation down, right?
No, I'm actually gonna remove you from our show, so then that way you can exit and like boom, like have a removal song. Bye, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.